now is Mr. Parvez CV. We can read together. Parvez Singh, which is his job is Sport Authority of India, and Nathan is a senior athletic coach, and this is his education, and then is about the experience. Now is national coach for throw since 2001, and presently is deputy chief coach throw with India team. Then I have many time meet with Mr. Parvez in a competition. I think this is Mr. Parvez CV. So now time for Mr. Parvez to presentation.
Thank you, Devi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Once again, good morning to everyone. So, good morning, sir. Good morning, OP. So today I am going to deliver my lecture on strength training. So most of you are already dealing with young athletes. As athlete, you have already done a lot of strength training during your active athletic career, and now you have most of you have very long experience of strength training. So today, first of all, I'm going in the strength training. I'm going to discuss topic with the muscle balance actually, because most of time we see that we have experienced that many of you have already had this experience that in the we experience injury because of muscle imbalance. So before we go for any kind of strength training or any exercise, we need to assess or we need to understand the body's muscle balance. And yesterday lecture, Mr. Ria already explained about strength training also for youth also, exercises. He has very nicely explained about the progression of strength as your athlete is growing, is passing through puberty, different windows of opportunity. You have already read in level 1 also, in level 2 also. So when your athlete is around the age of 17 at 18, or he has already attained his adulthood, so we start strength training because strength is a very important main motor ability for throws and for sprints and other events also. So before we start the strength training, we need to assess our athlete, because this is very simple. There are some simple tests also, but it's very important when you progress through different phases of training program throughout the season or throughout the career of your athlete. So as I just explained, we need to analyze every part of kinetic chain involved in the movement, whether it is throw or jump or sprint, because it is not only the one muscle or one part of the muscle, it is the whole body which works in all the athletic events, whether jumping or throwing. So for proper functioning of muscular system in athletics movement, there should be a proper strength balance. So today mainly we will discuss about this strength balance. We need to understand that strength balance. So accordingly, we can design our strength training program. So any kind of imbalance I just mentioned, that it can cause injuries. So first of all, I will discuss about a very simple test, which is overhead squat testing. So today I will begin my lecture with the testing of muscle balance. Today I have one more lecture on throws training also. Some of the part of strength training, development of strength training will be covered in that next lecture also, second lecture for throws training, because strength is a dominating motor ability for throws. So this is overhead squat. As you can see, this is the movement. That test can be performed. Why I have chosen this test, overhead squat test? Because this is the movement when you perform this overhead squat, it involves almost all your muscles or muscle groups, right from toe to head. So this is a very simple test, and it gives us a very good assessment of body balance. So accordingly, we can plan our strength training. So before we conduct this test, I will just show you this because when you will be teaching young athletes, maybe some of your athletes are not able to perform the proper movement. So for proper assessment of test, first of all, the squat we need to, I'm just showing you this 10-step squat tutorial. This was performed by our national team physio. She is Nitya Marwa. She's working with us. We take help of our physiotherapist. So I have taken her these slides to show you. It's a very simple test. Then there's nothing new. I think most of you already know that. But before we go for a overhead test, just I'm going to revise these things. So the 10-step squat tutorial. This is how there are few points we need to keep in mind, because when young children they start, they enter past the puberty, they are young, 17, 18 years of age. Maybe some of your athletes are not able to perform the squat with the correct technique. So first of all, stand straight with your feet slightly wider than your hips or equal to shoulder width. Your toes should point slightly outward. It should be slightly, not much. Okay, this is one. Then second step, put your arm straight just for balance. Okay, or this is the most easiest way. You can keep your hand behind your head also, but this is better. Put your arm straight in front of you, parallel to the ground. Keep your weight on your heels and the ball of the feet. So your pressure of your body weight or the body weight should be on the ball of the feet, the middle, just out of the middle part, and on the heels. Then keep your entire body tight, bracing your core. Okay, squeezing your glute muscles, hips. So this is the proper position starting. Then breathe in and break at your hips and push your buttock back. So you have to drop your hips from this position. So maintain your thighs parallel to the ground. So this is the deep down position. From here, maintain your thighs parallel to the ground to achieve proper depth position. So this is the position where your athlete will reach. Most of you already know there is nothing new. I'm just revising these points before we go for. We will discuss about the overhead squat test. So this is the position, squat position. Your thighs, you can see, this should be parallel to the, when you reach parallel to this ground. So you can do this. This is slow movement, slow motion. You can do few. Your athlete can do few repetitions. So you can repeat it a few times. Just drop your hips like this. This should be the movement. Once again, I will repeat. Okay. So now we'll come to the overhead square test. So I just shown you that one picture in the first beginning slide. So how we can conduct this overhead square to assess the muscle balance before we go, or we are doing strength training or want to monitor whether our strength is, we are doing it properly or need some special focus on special muscle or group of muscle. So this is the overhead squat. So hands will be raised overhead like this and going to the squat position. So what are the point we need to analyze during the movement? You can see this interior position from the front side of your athlete. So you can see this red line. This is showing from heel, knee, and hip. They are in same line. Okay, this is the front anterior uh, anterior position. Then the lateral view. This is anterior view. This is lateral view. This is the most important part. I think these are the most important part when you analyze. So the thing you have to check the two lines. You can see one is lower leg from ankle to knee. This red line shows the your shin bone actually, and one line is your from hip, shoulder, and arm. These lines should be approximately parallel to each other. You can see here they are approximately parallel to each other. And in the posterior view, you can see the hips also, they are parallel. Okay, left and right hip. Okay, and spine is straight. Similarly, anterior view, you have seen knee, your calf is straight. They are parallel. So these are the points you need to observe. If your athlete is almost in this position, the lines are similar, that means your athlete has a balanced strength development. But what can happen if your athlete is not having proper balance? This is the common thing you will see. Like you see here, low back arches, okay, or hunchback this position, or excessive forward lean like this. In the third view, you can see excessive forward line. So we have seen the previous slide, the lower leg and the hips, these lines should be parallel to each other, approximately parallel. There is a little difference, that's okay, but it should be approximately parallel to each other. If it is not there, like third one, you see the athlete is leaning, extra forward leaning is there, excessive forward leaning is there. That means your athlete's glutes muscles are not so strong. You have to focus on the glutes muscle, on the hamstring. Is not, your athlete is not able to use this muscle, or your athlete is not able to control the arms are falling forward in this position. So you need, your athlete is not able to control the core muscle. You need to develop the core muscle. Similarly, you see here from the anterior view, feet are flattened or feet are outward. This is related with the calf muscles, your ankle strength, or knees are moving inward. If knees are moving inward, so that means the abductor muscles are not strong, the lateral muscles are not strong. You have to focus, you have to train your lateral muscles. If your athlete's knees are moving outward, that means your athlete's adductor muscles are not strong enough to hold that position. So like the hip is a multi-dimensional joint. So we have a front quadriceps, front hip flexor muscles. On the back, we have glutes, we have the hamstring, which are hip extensors. On the lateral side, we have abductors. On the medial side, inside, we have adductors. So we have muscle four different muscle groups which are holding our hips. So we have to train our athletes with the balance training. We can, with this assessment, we can find out which muscles are not strong enough to hold this body. That's why overhead testing, squat testing is a very good test to assess the strength level of your athlete, because it tests from toe to head all the muscle groups. So this is a very good test, because like yesterday, Mr. Riaz explained about the strength training. In the beginning, you start with own body weight or with a light implement, then you gradually learn the technique of weightlifting. But along with this progression of different exercises, different training parts, the muscle assessment is very important. If the strength training is not multi-directional, it can cause muscle imbalance, poor performance, plus it can lead to injury also. So this proper muscle balance testing is important. There are many other muscle balance tests specifically to target to assess a particular muscle group. I'm not going to discuss much about the muscle balance, but I'm just showing you this is one more test which we can. This is a balance test on one leg, just raise one leg, and this can be done with open eyes or with closed eye. If with open eyes your athlete is able to hold it for at least 1 minute, that means he is having good balance. Or with closed eyes, it is 30 seconds. If your athlete is able to control the body balance for 30 seconds, that means the level is satisfactory. Because when we do some balance movements, we with our kinesthetic sense, body spatial awareness, and we see with eyes, we see the movement and we control our body balance. And when we close our eyes, it is difficult because we are using our senses, body senses, eyes, and we have vestibular system also inside ear. There is a fluid which gives our brain the sense of balancing. So when we close our eyes, we uses other body senses to control the balance, and it becomes difficult to balance the body. So with the open eyes, if your athlete is able to perform with for at least 1 minute, good balance. With closed eyes, it is 30 seconds. Then we can have some other tests also, like for glute test. I just mentioned gluteus muscle. This is big muscle and involved in all the movements, whether it is sprint start, jumps or throws. This is a very important muscle. So you can, for your athlete, you can test like this position from, you can do the repetition, lower the hip and up from this position. And if your athlete is able to, if maybe your athlete perform only 20 or 15 repetitions, it's okay. You can train your athlete, you can improve athlete's strength. But if your athlete like 18 years of age or 19 years of age can do 30 repetition in 1 minute, that means your athlete is having a sufficient strength. Okay. Then this is for hamstring also. It looks similar position, like you have seen this glute, but the angle here of the knee here is greater and the toe is not in contact. This is not flat foot. You can see here it is flat foot. Here the athlete is on the heel, so it is the same movement. So sorry, movement is same. So if your athlete is able to do 30 repetitions in 1 minute, your athlete is having good strength. So there are most tests for muscles also, like in this position, your athlete can do repetition, go in this position, can go down fully. This ankle should be fully stretched. Heel should go to the lowest position, then up and down. If your athlete is able to do 25 repetition in 1 minute, that means your athlete is having good strength. But some of your athlete, like young athletes, 16, 17 years, they may not be able to perform 25 repetition, but you can assess accordingly. Then push-ups, this is very common test. You know that from this position. These are own body weight tests, or if your athlete is not strong enough, you can use bench in like this. This is easier version of a push-up test. So there are some norms for different age groups, okay, for push-ups. This you can find on the internet also. There's one more, there are more tests. So I'm just advising that the purpose of discussion is that when we begin strength training, or we are going through the strength training of our athlete, the muscle strength testing is very important. If we will not go, we will not assess, we will not go into the right direction. So these are some more tests, McGill torso-muscular test. So you can see, you can hold your athlete, and ask your athlete to hold this position, okay? Or this second, this is also abdomen core test. So this first you can support your athlete with some board like this in this position, and that when the test, you want to start the test, just remove the board or the support on the back and ask your athlete to hold and note the time. And these are the slide planks. Most of your athletes are already doing for strength training, and you can note the time, and you can record it, and you can check the improvement in the strength. So the idea of assessment, like overhead squat test, this is one of the best tests I can say to assess the muscle strength, because it involves all the muscles. So these tests are very important for muscle strength assessment, because when you know the level of muscle strength, then only you can plan the training or the training program. You can design the strength training programs accordingly. So now we'll come to the, because I'm discussing the methodology of strength training, I will discuss in the strength training part, that because these are the common points to discuss. So the next point is the specific exercise. So like we are doing training, we are doing exercises, strength training exercises. So what are the general strength exercises? What are the specific exercises? And what are the special strength training exercises? General strength exercise, first of all, what is the specific strength or the specific exercise? So this is a term most of the coaches use, whether the exercise is a general or it is a specific in nature. So an exercise or movement pattern that looks like a dominant movement pattern in competition is known as a specific exercise. If your movement of the exercise is similar or identical to the competition movement, suppose your athlete is a long jumper, or your athlete is a short putter, or your athlete is a hurdler, if the movement pattern of your exercise is similar or identical to the competition movement, that means this exercise is specific. But if that exercise is not specific, or it is not matching to the movement, but you are doing that exercise is a general in nature, that is general exercise or general strength exercise. Okay, like we are doing suppose the clean or snatch. These are the strength exercise which are not specific in nature. They are general in nature for any event, like suppose shot put or even long jump. It is not specific. So the movement pattern, if matches the movement of the competition or the event structure, that is specific in nature. So for specific exercise, how we can say it is specific exercise? If it uses the same muscle group as in competition, okay, it can be specific, okay. And if use the same muscles as in the competition, or it uses the same muscle fibers as in composition. So this is the point related with the fast twitch and slow twitch fiber, which I am going to cover in the throws training session, the fast twitch and the slow twitch fiber. Then come has the same recruitment order as in the competition. Okay, so the same kinetic chain, same way it is recruiting from, like in the throws we recruit the muscle group from bigger to smaller. Is it using the same, or it is using the same energy system as in the competition? When we say it is using ATCP, or it is lactic, or it is using the aerobic. So same way, the is it using the same energy system? So do the kinetics looks like those in competition? So the joint angle, the same parameters, do the muscle contraction pattern looks like the ones in competition, whether it is eccentric or it is concentric or isometric. So is there any similarity between these movements or the patterns? So, for example, you see this exercise, this is inclined bench press. If I will ask you, already it is written there on the screen. If I will ask you, uh, is this exercise specific? For which event this exercise is specific? You all will say it is specific for short putter. Why this is specific? Because it is using this almost the same muscle groups, and the angle is also same, which is closer to the release angle of the short putter. Here, angle here does not mean in relation to the ground, but in relation to the body part, because the athlete is lying. One point here I want to say, uh, this exercise, suppose this exercise, a sprinter is doing this bench press or inclined bench press, that will be general in nature for that sprinter. But the same exercise is specific for a short putter. So that means no exercise is general in nature, or no exercise is specific in nature for all the event. It depends upon its relation with the event. Like you see here, it is more specific to the short put. One more point I want to add. If we categorize the different exercises, the general, specific, and there's one more special exercise. So general, where it is not similar to the competition movement. Specific means the exercise may be almost similar to the competition event, or some of its elements are similar to the competition movement. So you see here, this is specific in nature, but not all the elements are similar to the competition movement. Only the shoulder muscles, arm muscles, they are similar to the competition movement, but not the lower body, even not the abdominal or torso muscle. They are not working similar to the competition movement. So when it is more closer to the competition movement, it becomes special exercise. But when one or two or three elements are similar to the competition movement, then it is specific. And when there is not very much similarity with the competition, it is general in nature. So there are three different steps: general, specific, and special. Special exercise more similar or almost identical to the competition movement. So this is one exercise example of shot put. This is more specific because in that exercise, inclined bench press, athlete is using both hands. Here, athlete is using one single hand, because shot put is a single hand movement, shot put competition movement. This is more specific. Here, the athlete is lying on the bench in an inclined angle, but here the athlete is standing. So almost it is more similar or closer to the competition movement. So this is one more exercise. Can anybody tell? Already it is written on the screen. It is specific to the nature. So you can see shoulder and the elbow muscles are working in the similar manner in which the competition movement in javelin. So this is specific exercise for sprints, strength exercise, the drag run, and similarly that when you are designing or you are choosing some exercise which should be specific in nature to the competition movement, so you either choose one or two elements of the competition movement, or more than that, or it is almost closer to the competition movement. So like this, you see here, it is more specific in nature to the, this is a specific exercise for the whole world. Okay, so today in this session, I have discussed about muscle balance test, the importance of muscle balance, how you will assess different muscle balance. And the second part, I have covered this specific, because you will be choosing the exercise, whether this is the exercise is general in nature or this is specific in nature. So I have not discussed about the methodologies because I'm going to cover that part in the second second session. So I will end my discussion here. If you have any question, you can ask me.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dinesh.
Yeah, I'm from Bhutan, sir. Okay, sir. My question is, for the youths from age athlete age between not 7 exactly, 10 to 17. So, what kind of what kind of specific strength training would you recommend for them, apart from what you have shown, the specific strength training for the sprinters? I want to know for the sprinters.
Okay, Dinesh, first of all, if you are asking about the athlete from the age of 10 to 17 years,
To
because
17 years.
17 years.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, we have to follow the World Athletic Long Development Program. So when the athlete is 10 to 13, 12, 13 year age, that is the kids athletic part. You have to work on the, it is not only specific to the event, but you will be focusing more on the physical literacy, refinement of physical literacy, multi-directional development. So all aspects of the development of physical development will be covered in that part. So this is kids athletic. So when
Okay.
your athlete is passing through the puberty, like yesterday, Mr. Ria has shown you already, we have learned in level 1, if you have done
Yes.
level 1. So
Yes.
there are windows of opportunities. For then there are clear differences between male and female. So
Yes.
for females, you can go for strength training even in the beginning of the puberty, but in case of male, you have to start a little bit later according to their biological development.
Okay.
So that is the time where you can focus on the strength, but still, I will not say it is specific to the event. It is as
Okay.
the whole body. You see, even I have shown you, there are some interesting fact why I am covering this muscle balance test. So it is, of course, you need not to go for the muscle balance test at the age of 12, 13 or 14. It starts
Okay.
later when you actually start training. But why I have covered, because in my experience with the senior athletes, even the athletes our athletes who are getting medal at, I can say, at a Asian level, or
Yes.
they are doing at world level, but
Okay.
they could not perform at some point because of injury. And when we assessed, the root cause was muscle imbalance. I've
Okay.
just you have seen in the CV, one of my athlete. I have trained only for 1 year last year. She is our
Okay.
national record holder, javelin throw,
Okay.
Anu Rani, and
Understood.
she competed. She got bronze medal in Commonwealth Games, and in recent World Championship in Eugene,
Okay.
she was 7th finalist.
Okay.
But she suffered knee injury and ankle because of muscle balance. Now coming to your point, so when
Okay.
your athlete is in the he has already entered the age, the window period where you will be working on the strength, it should be overall development, keeping in mind about the speed also, speed factor, because speed is not an isolated quality. Speed is a fast expression of strength. Okay,
Okay.
so when you are
Okay.
developing strength, you have to keep in mind the speed factor, because of time constraint also. But I will discuss that part in the next, because it is
Okay.
close,
Okay.
but that
Okay.
is applicable for
Okay.
all the events, right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Hello, Mr. Bobby.
Yes.
I'm Go from Malaysia.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask about distance running when we talk about distance running. So what we have seen like in the country of Kenya. So what up to my understanding is like before they go into, let's say, marathon training, they will do a lot of general strength. That means that they will go to the gym maybe like put maybe 1.5 hours or 1 hour just to build up the general. And then on the other hand, like Ethiopia is up to my understanding, I don't see them do much general, but maybe more specific. And then come to the US is totally different. They have like maybe USA, they have like throughout the gym sections, and then they always like explosiveness go to the gym. So my question is like, so for distance running specifically, not really much. Last time we not talk about like strength training until maybe like Oregon project that they start introducing like gym, all that, and then they change the environment, something like that. So from there maybe Mr. Bobby can you tell more about that related to like distance running?
Yes, for distance running, I'm again coming to the level 1 courses like every in all the events we have comparison between short putter and marathon runner also. Both need all to develop all the motor abilities, whether it is speed, strength, endurance, flexibility, coordination. But what are the dominating motor abilities? For if we compare strength, okay, so short putter needs to develop strength, but a marathon runner also needs to develop strength. But the dominant, it is the dominating for short putter. You need to develop a lot of strength, but it is not the same case for a marathon runner. Similarly, endurance ability. Endurance, a short putter also need to develop endurance, but not like a runner or marathon runner. So now you have comparison between Ethiopians and Kenyans. It depends upon coaches' philosophy, I can say. But we, like you mentioned, the Kenyans, they do a lot of general strength conditioning. I think that is very important. That prevents injuries also. And like just we have seen, we need not only because if we are standing, our muscles are keeping the posture against the gravity. We need strength. Similarly, we are just jogging, running. We need a certain level of strength to maintain that posture. So, like marathon runner, they're running. They need also some level of strength. So you need to know how much strength or what type of strength they need to develop. That is more important.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Look, raise a hand.
Yes, Lava Shirin, you want to ask some question?
Yeah, I want to ask. I'm going to have my friend here. I want to ask about the conditioning and strength. So when it comes to an advanced athlete, should it be the conditioning first, or it should be the strength that we should go first?
Yeah, actually conditioning and strength is interrelated terms, but if we say in general, you need your body conditioning, strength or flexibility. You have to, like testing, I have just mentioned about the testing, strength testing, but you have not only you have to test the strength, but you have to test the range of motion also. Okay, so that is conditioning. So it starts with the conditioning. Okay, so and you have to, according to event or according to the age or their level of performance, you have to plan the strength training or you have to develop the other motor abilities.
So we can choose either way, right? Depending on the athlete's strength.
It's athlete related, is a level of performance, biological age, and you have to assess your athletic. It is individual.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. So, Divi, it's already 19:15. I think next lecture will be by Veera. So we can conclude the session.
Yes. Yes.
I think we will have a short break. Those who want to need a toilet break and all that, we give 10 minutes. It's okay.
Yes.
So we can
Yeah.
have we got time. So we give 10 minutes. So we come back 11 11:07. Sorry, 11:07. I need to always change my time from Singapore time to Indonesia time. Okay, we'll see you back.
Okay.
10 minutes, yeah.
Thank
10
you.
minutes break.
It's Bhutan people always eat. Yeah.
Teshring, good morning.
Always eat.
One more. Teshring, one more.
Bhutan people always eat problem.
He's enjoying. You're enjoying your food very nicely, yeah?
I have to keep on eating. I don't know. I have to eat every time.
Because they're very cold. They need the energy, yeah.
Is it,
Oh,
Always
break-
yes, of course.
Coffee.
is it breakfast time there in Bhutan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What are you having for breakfast? Looks very delicious.
It's coffee. Coffee.
Maybe.
Superman, are you in Malaysia or somewhere else?
Malaysia.
Oh, okay. So how's the weather?
Hmm?
How's the weather?
Weather, hot.
Yeah.
It's summer now. It's very, very hot.
Oh, okay.
Very, 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 very hot.
Always hot.
Yeah. No. This month is summer, hot. And is winter over in the Bhutan, Thimphu? Winter?
No, still so cold. See,
Cold, huh?
with the heater, still cold.
I mean, the winter is over or still on winter?
Winter month is over, but still cold.
You had snow during December, January. Did you have snow? No,
No, not this year.
not this year.
Only on the mountains.
Oh,
Yeah. It tried to snow, but then it didn't come here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have snow in Thimphu, huh?
Yeah.
Not every year.
Actually, every year, but this year we could not get.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the globalization.
Yeah, maybe. Because my friend last time a lecturer, I think you know him. He was there from Malaysia. So it was winter there.
Winter starts from November, it gets cold. Then December cold, January too cold, February too cold. The March is springtime, but still cold.
That's your friend or hubby beside you?
This is Haba, he is the coach.
Coach. Okay.
So we're attending from Bath office.
Just now, I think Doji was there for a while.
Yeah, Duji was there.
Oh,
I'll call Duji.
call him.
Yeah.
It's shivering. It looks very cold there, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, this is your association office, is it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Her boss.
Hello.
Hello,
So-
Priyanka.
Long time not see you.
Hello to everyone.
Yes.
Hey, Doji,
Yes.
big boss.
Hello.
Oh, look, you look like a big boss there.
Small boss, not big boss, small boss. So how have you been?
So it's very nice. All your coaches comes to your office to do the Zoom, huh? Not from the
Yeah.
home.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Because
So
the boss is
otherwise,
great.
everything good with you?
Good. Great.
I see.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Eh, tunggu,
Doji, I want to make a a visit with my wife, a private visit to Thimphu very soon.
Okay.
But if I come privately, I have to pay a lot of money. Yeah,
It's
you must do
it's
something.
just it's
But
just
don't-
$200 US dollars. It's just $200 US dollars per day.
Yeah. No, all the while I've been there 3 times. I didn't pay a single cent. But you tried some loophole. Where
Yeah.
you come like a tourist.
It's very difficult to find the loopholes now. 10 years ago, possible now. That's why you see no hair on my head.
Mr. Anbar, you remember these sessions are recorded? You want to ask anything, do it offline.
Oh, sorry. I thought,
Mr. Amba is using some plan exercises on this. Huh?
okay. I think it's time's up for Veera to
Okay.
start class.
So anyway, Vera, how are you and how is your family?
Great. Thank you. We're doing well so
Great.
far.
Good.
And again, now with the opportunity to travel again is opening up.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody
Yes.
is looking
I
forward.
think we must resume this now.
Yeah, so we can have some discussion to see how we can do some workshops
Sure.
in Bhutan
Sure.
to see how we
Sure,
can work
please.
it out.
Please,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
For us, for BAF, I'm very open to this. And then
Okay.
I always look forward to seeing our colleagues, if not in Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia, at least in Thimphu, Bhutan now.
Yes.
Been to all these places, but you have never been to these places.
Exactly. So we
except
need to
Amba.
find things to come
Yes.
in. Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
We'll keep in touch because I'm
Yes,
trying to
great,
work out
great.
something with
Sure,
Ekawit
sure.
and Sivria.
Sure. Yes.
See how we work out things.
Yes.
Okay.
So I
Sure.
can see the handsome brother Dewey there.
Yeah.
So regard. How are you, sister?
Thank you, fine. Thank
Good,
you,
good.
Blue Dorothy.
Oh, still the evergreen, beautiful sister. See, we can always see.
Because I'm female, not to be handsome.
Very good. It's always good to see each other.
Doji,
Yeah.
you must learn to call Riastuti as Ibu, not sister. You must try to call her Ibu.
Ibu.
Ibu means
Ibu
mother.
means sister.
Mother.
No, it will be
For
older
me,
than-
she's still sister, no Ibu.
No, she's been in Indonesia. We call the elderlies as Ibu. So it's
Okay,
Iburia,
okay.
Iburia.
No, she's my younger sister.
Thank you.
Yes. Did you know that?
I think
Did
she
you know
prefers
that?
to be
I
that
will be
way.
always-
She prefers to
Doji.
be that way. To be younger sister.
Doji.
Yes.
Riastuti is older than you.
She's younger than me. She looks still
Sure.
much younger than me. So no Ibu.
Okay.
But did you know that Gunther was here for 4 days seminar?
Yeah. He sent me the photograph of yourself.
Yes.
I sent a remark to him.
Yes. And then definitely with the resumption of all these activities, we will definitely open up gradually, but and then I'll think of inviting our colleagues from Asia. Sure.
Great.
We have Vera is there. We have our hero, the hero from Thailand, Eka.
Yeah, that's right.
He's good old friends. Of course, definitely our hero from Indonesia. We cannot ignore Dewi. Okay. Otherwise, nice talking to every one of you.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay. We will always
Thank
keep in
you.
touch.
Keep
We
in
will
touch.
always keep in touch.
Yes.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you, Pak.
Selamat pagi.
Selamat
Selamat
pagi.
pagi.
Selamat siang.
Okay. Bye. Bye-bye.
I realized I gave them 20 minutes break. It's okay. No worries. Because we got
3
time.
minutes more.
We got time.
Yes. More minutes.
Because morning is okay. Okay, we can start now.
Yes, please, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Good to see you all gone through quite a fair bit of information today, I believe. As we now moving on, we're moving into what we call general theories. We've done strength, speed, and endurance. Right now, we're now moving into what we call the event-specific informations that we need. So we start off with jumps for that. So how many jumps do we have? How many disciplines do we have in jumps? Can you remember?
We have
Three.
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 Yes.
Okay, what are the three? Three or four?
High jump,
High jump,
long jump,
long jump,
triple jump,
triple jump,
and
Pole vault.
and
Pole
pole
vault.
vault. Yeah, so
pole
we have
vault,
four
yeah,
event
four,
groups.
yeah.
Okay, four event groups we have. So this will be what we call the discipline that we will have with our national setup all the way up to international as well.
Yes, two horizontal, two vertical.
Yes, two horizontal, two vertical. Very good. Okay, anything else you all know? Anything else you know about jumps? Any other informations? Interesting facts? What's the long jump world record?
I think 8.96.
8.96. Okay, by
Mike Powell, I
Mike
think.
Powell. Okay, for men, for women,
Yes.
for women, anybody know? How about women? In this day and age, you can Google and can definitely find out. Anybody want to make an attempt for women long jump?
No idea.
No idea. Okay. Okay. Any other event groups? You all know. High jump.
High jump. I know one athlete, current, I think, champion from
Mhm.
Qatar,
Okay.
Bashim.
Bashim. Okay.
And, yeah.
Let's-
And
So,
Mondo something in pole vault.
in pole vault, Mondo.
Please.
Okay. He
Mondo,
just
yeah.
create a world record. Exactly.
247.
247. Okay. Which event? High jump.
High jump Cuban.
Okay. Cuban. Correct. Exactly. Sotomayor.
Record holder, yeah.
And
So
women's Costa Rica 209.
Costa Rica 209. Okay. Good. How about vertical jumps? Sorry, vertical jumps. We already have two performance. Pole vault for women. Do you know who's the world record holder?
No idea.
No idea. Anybody else want to make a try?
6.22 pole vault.
That's men. For women,
Yeah. Women.
Yelena Isinbayeva.
Irina Isembewa. What's the distance or what's the height? Sorry,
5.01.
5.06.
5.06. Okay, women long jump. Anybody have make a guess? Distance first.
7.50.
750. Okay. Okay, and then 7 point.
Long jump.
750.
1.52.
Okay, and then triple jump. Triple jump, men and women.
Jonathan Edward,
Jonathan Edwards. Okay.
1829.
Again. 17.
15.7.
1829.
18.9. Okay.
1829.
Okay, and then for women,
15.74.
18.74. Okay, by
Ilima.
Ilima. Okay, good. So, okay, generally, all of you got it right. Okay, almost. This is what we want to know. Okay, many a times we have when we prepare for jumps events or track and field events, we tend to have a lot of men's names come out very fast. Women's names take a bit more struggle. So it's good to know both gender because in your training programs you will have opportunity to train both male and female. So it's always good to know some of this information that you have. as a sport. Okay, great. So the 4 main jumps that we have spoken about, okay, are predetermined by what we call some biomechanical aspect of it. In jumps, there are 3 parameters that was very important, whether to go for distance or height. Okay, so what are the 3? Can you remember from my level 1? What are the 3 determining factors for jumps? Say again. Based on biomechanics, what are the 3 determining factors that you can use?
The angle,
Okay, angle of takeoff,
the speed,
the speed of takeoff,
Optimal speed.
and the last one,
the height.
the height of
Height.
takeoff. Okay, good. So these are the 3 parameters that we look for in jumps: the velocity at the takeoff. Okay, so speed of takeoff, angle of takeoff, and of course the height of what we call at the point of takeoff, where's the center of mass. These 3 criteria is pretty much standard for all the disciplines in for jumps, and most of our training orientation will be towards this. How are we going to maximize and again better our athletes' position when they come to this position, which is the takeoff position, where they are. So these are a few factors that we'll be looking in as we are progressing. So whenever you're looking for training and design and all that, keep all this in mind as part of our guiding factor. Okay, so we have a few phases. Okay, you are not very familiar with. We have approach, we have takeoff, flight, and landing. So these are the 4 phases. It's very common in jumps. So what are the phase contribution? Okay, we have approach phase, which we want it to be fast, accurate, and consistent. Reason being is if the athlete is always coming in, I'll call it fast. Okay, accuracy comes from optimal speed and not from maximal speed. So accuracy comes from optimal speed. And the reason of consistency, because how many jumps do we get in a competition? How many jumps do we get in a competition for horizontal jumps first?
6.
6 jumps. So okay, so 6, and then in if you take a high jumps and pole vault, each attempt at a height, if it doesn't fail, if it fails, you get about 3 attempts, right? So again, consistency in terms of the need to do them regularly is important. So approach run, because speed is a very important criteria, vertical takeoff, which we need. So that's why it's important. They're all together within approach. There will be 3 phases. Okay, entry, acceleration, and of course preparation for takeoff. This is where the whole of what I call adjustment takes place. And many a times this is where sometimes in compared to long jump, compared to triple jump, long jump athletes tend to make a lot of fault because of the need to reduce their size in order to maximize the speed. Okay, so this is a few phases you have. So how does the entry look like? Entry means basically is how we're going to start. So most of the times you see we always start from a high stand position. A few styles is people will start from a standstill position and then they start accelerating. Some will do a walk-in. Some will even do what we call a bound-in. So different style of approach or entry is available. All this will be based on athlete's comfort, athlete's ability to generate what we call the enough acceleration or speed for the thing. The objective of an entrance or entry is always about building rhythm. So we want to make sure that there's an optimal rhythm that's built up for the takeoff. In acceleration phase, of course, it's all because it's a running event. It's a base of part of running or correct structure. A good running posture is important. So it means running mechanics will be a criteria that we want to focus upon when we are preparing for approach. Build up of speed should be gradual, okay, not maximal, like one of you mentioned, is optimal speed. So it's build up of speed should be gradual into the point where it gets to an optimal stage, and then just before it hits maximal speed, we're transferring for a vertical takeoff. So what happens in the preparation, because now we're transiting from horizontal speed to vertical speed. So there will be what we call a bit of preparation that needs to be needed, where the last two steps, or last two strides, steps will be altered or will be changed. This is where we call them, what we call them. Remember, can you remember? What are the two steps? One step before the takeoff step, what do we call them?
Penultimate. Penultimate.
Yes, penultimate step. So penultimate step is where the body makes the change, or the athlete makes the change for preparation of takeoff. So last two steps. And why this is also important to know at this stage, because we want to continue the speed into the takeoff, there will be an increase in frequency. That means the speed coming into this step will be increased. The support phase or the contact time of the athlete foot will be a bit longer, which means slightly longer. Of course, in terms of height projection, the flight time will decrease because the body will be lowering itself. And then, of course, the body is maintained in an upright position and before it moves into a takeoff. So here, you'll see it's a very classical phase preparation where the foot at the penultimate step is always flat and not pointed. Okay, so if I can zoom in for you guys to see. So if you look at a foot placement, it's always what we call flat-footed, and because they're getting to lower the body into a upward direction. So this is the reason why they are having this full foot action. This is to help to allow the center of mass or center of gravity to slightly lower so they can accelerate for the takeoff. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, try not to annotate or try to use the pen mark around. So you have a lot of this things kind of distracting. So try to minimize using the annotations. Okay, so this is the criteria that we need to have for takeoff side. So at takeoff, okay, the body of the athlete has to be upright tall because they're transferring. So there's no leaning in, no backward action. Foot plant is always will be called down and back. So it's basically a bowing action kind of thing. So it's coming down and backwards. So the heel is accelerating quickly back to the ball. Contact time will be very short because though we mentioned earlier, the penultimate step, the contact is slightly longer increase. By a takeoff point, the speed or the contact time will be short because we want to quickly export our wing. Okay, so this is very important. The free foot, okay, the free leg, the thigh punches to a horizontal level. This is where we talk about. Remember, we mentioned we have done our long jump practice. We hit the freeze action. So that's where the punch comes in. Okay, knee of the free leg is slightly bent. Arm action in conjunction with the legs will be bent as well. Triple extension of the knee, the hip, knee, and ankle will be an extension, and there will be full extension of the what we call contradicting or contributing joints. So here, this is how it looks like. So if you look at all the takeoffs of the triple jump, the pole vault, is in Beva's pole vault. This is the triple extension of the hip, knee, and ankle joint. Same goes for Pedroso's long jump on the right side, full extension, and then the knee is punched and hold up edwards. Below the triple jump as well, same action. And of course, at the bottom right side or left side, the high jump also have an upright position. So all of it, the direction of takeoff is in the moment where they're going towards. So for the two athletes on the horizontal action will be more forward and upward action. And the vertical jumps is more of a vertical horizontal action, okay? Here, the action of freeze of takeoff position is to hold and to wait. So many a times you'll find athletes tend to drop their freeze leg early, and that's where sometimes might have a rotational effect. So objective of this is to ensure that the freeze leg holds and there's a what we call tendency to bleed. Once takeoff, there is no way you can change the center of mass once you're airborne. But what we can do is the control of what we call of the body actions. So this is where you'll see for hang, the hands are raised up. Okay, in triple jump, the hands come forward. So all this where the athletes can able to maneuver the rotation of the body to support what we call the speeding up of the body action. Angular momentum in flight, okay, is produced during takeoff and cannot change. It is what we meant by the arm actions. This will also affect the landing effectively. So again, how the athlete able to hold the angular momentum by lengthening their bodies, okay, and then later on learning to speed it up. Okay, so this is where it will happen. In vertical jump, okay, both high jump and pole vault, you see the action of arcing or again revert bending of the body to have an efficient bar clearance. All these are to adjust to ensure that the center of mass is positioned relatively higher than the bar itself. So to talk about angular momentum a little bit, we'll watch this short video here on Stefan Holm, who was the high jumper with probably 170 height, was able to clear up to about 240, if I can recall right, on his performance pace. Okay, give me a minute. Let me get this off. Okay, so okay. It's in German language, but just watch the whole action. Okay, if you would have noticed, the foot placement of both the last two steps or last two contacts are pretty much what we call flat foot. The penultimate foot is also flat, and you also observe here for his takeoff foot is also flat. Reason being is to what we call, as what is mentioned, is to stabilize the long axis on our body so that allows the transference of what we call the velocity from horizontal to vertical. And of course, here shows very nice angular rotation or angular momentum that creates the rotational effect over the bar. So even by keeping a simultaneous photo of the stick they use, the crossbar, and then again with Stefan Holm's position of entrance into the takeoff, you can see that the energy stored and then expanded looks the same. So again, that's important why certain positions that you need to maintain at the takeoff is important to allow this what we call mechanical efficiency that can transfer. So with this, we understand how our long jump is structured for us to take action as coaches. So as part of our biomotor abilities that we can be trained, there are two sources that we always come across. One is what we call the conditioning or energy determining skills. Another one is what we call the information orientation skills. If you can see, speed is rather in the middle, where it has a contribution both as an energy source and also as an information source. So when we prepare our athletes for, again, most event groups, we need to keep this in mind as well. So, and for jumps, the predominant effect is a contribution between the strength and the speed. So basically what we call the speed strength event or power event, as we can call them. So this will be a predetermining or predominant energy requirement that we want to train our athlete with. Before we move on into the in-depth of the different training component, how else can we develop these things as a biomotor abilities for athletes is what we call the introduction of multi-events. If you can remember Mr. Ria mentioning about giving a variety of movement. So it's also important for us as coaches to know that when you prepare for disciplines, block disciplines, means you're going to prepare them for sprints and jumps, middle long distance throws, there are certain contributions that can come from other event groups. For example, for sprints and jumps potential, we have the 80-meter, we have the 60-meter hurdles, long jump, high jump, even ball throw or basically javelin throw can be used as part of this overall coordinated strength that is required. Because if you can remember yesterday when I was talking to, I think, Jeevan, where we mentioned that we need to look at other event groups potentials or other event groups movement patterns and use them to our own event to improve what we call the general coordinating skills and also to help to improve what we call the specific coordinations of the strength as well. So here is all about what we call the principle of variety that we want to provide our athletes for neuromobility variation. So with that in mind, some of the tests that we can do as we move on from basic training, block event build-up, and of course to event-specific build-up. If you look at it, the tests that you look for, event groups, using long jump as an example here. First one, if you look at it, is event-specific technique coordination transference. We start with long jump optimal distances, optimal approach, sorry, and distance. Followed, or we can also do what we call medium approach, and of course we do long jump with short approach. What you can see that when we are preparing athletes of a younger age group, 13, 14, even up to 15 onwards, we don't really test their optimal acceleration or short acceleration. Reason being, it is in relation to the strength component. How when they're developing as a strength, we want to ensure these things are not tested early to contradict what we call the long-term athlete development. So short approach is pretty much is strength related. Optimal is regarding speed development. So we want to provide what we call a general testings and do some medium. Speed wise, you have 30 meters flying based on our recommendation in our IAA, our World Athletics. We have anywhere between 20 to 30 meters as acceleration to support it. 40 meter sprints from stand start, 100 meters from stand start. All this you can actually can continue doing it. Not to train for it, but at least you can doing it as a form of identification. Speed strength, okay, standing 5-step, it's okay, but we start from 15 years old. Approach 4 to 5 steps into a 5-step hop. We also will delay it again until it's an event specific strength. So we will move all the way up to 18 years old onwards. That's where this will be more what you call value. Bounding, okay, another coordination work. You can do it from short approach, 3 steps. Overhead toss, ball throw. We've seen that in our kids athletics program. It's pretty much a event that we still do even at a senior level. For at least up to 4 kilos, we are doing it. So it's also a good practice to teach basic coordination. So it's part of speed strength. But what we also will see as part of a build-up of youth program, which have what we call this block event coordinative speed strength. This is where we use high jump, hurdles, javelin, or weighted ball throw. This is integration. So we don't just do event-specific testings, but we incorporate what we call block events or multi-event components into the testings as well to ensure that there's a good variation of development. And of course, for Cooper tests for endurance, that helps to see how long they can run without stopping or able to endure a second event. So these are all based the aligned tests that will be you can use to help you direct your training program. So with that in mind, okay, now we have what we call the different phase for event groups that we have here. Contributions will be coordination. The first one that we'll look for. Remember, out of the 5 bimotor abilities we have coordination, speed, strength, endurance, and of course, flexibility. So in terms of coordination, the structure, we want to have what we call the horizontal velocity, the vertical velocity, balance coordination or balance movement to manage rotation, and last one to avoid losing distance and landing. All these are what we call in relation to coordination. How does it looks like here? So we know our long jump or events or jumps events are a close skill event or close skill technique that we will use. It's not an open skill. So with that in mind, we know that some of these things are contributing. What we call movement coupling is one of the components in coordination. That means the body and the limbs and the legs can work with each other, coordinate with each other. Kinesthetic differences. Okay, this is where when the athlete is able to see the difference of what we call height of takeoff, board to the takeoff and all that to help them. Body balancing, we talk about how they manage their body while running and also in the air. Spatial orientation, okay, again, how fast they have to come in and where do you need to place the foot is important. And last one, of course, rhythm sensing. Jumps are highly rhythmic event, so you have a rhythm sensing. How these 5 components contribute in the different phases, you can get to see here, where spatial orientation, rhythm sensing, kinesthetic difference and balance for approach, task takeoff, kinesthetic difference, body balance, movement coupling, flight, body balance, movement coupling, spatial orientation, and of course, lastly, pretty much all of it will come together except rhythm. All this is to where we can create coordination. So when you're preparing for a training in relation to coordination, some of the things I will keep in mind as preparation. So here is some of the examples you can get to see. Coordination training. We have, of course, sprints and jumps ABCs that we will do in different versions. Hurdle runs is a very good rhythm build-up activity. Other jumps, we mentioned about it earlier, talking about high jump and all that. Approach takeoff training in terms of preparation. What are the things we can do to help them to change? Imitation exercises, taking specific whole part whole concept to your training and then to teach them. And of course, the full sequence. So the next exercise or the next video is just to show some of the dynamic stability exercise you can do in relation to what we call movements. Okay, just give me a minute. Let me quickly erase away the annotations. Okay. Okay, so this is a quick on an unstable environment. We're creating a very fixed action of holding the knee and the focus on the freeze position. Okay, and then now we go into a little bit more of the dynamic part of it. So it's a active plan. So again, to teach the quick full foot plan and holding the position. Okay, one more. Okay, so this is all are some of the coordinative abilities that we practice. Okay, the next few are basically on teaching on limb switch action for speed. Okay, first one we talk about build up rhythms. Okay, it's always good to incorporate what I call left and right actions rather than just a singular side, because we want to balance the what I call bilateral movements. So always whenever you practice, we're looking for both actions. Okay. So next one is about, again, for limb coordination in takeoff or in movement in the air. Okay, one more time. Okay, all these exercises are just to help the athlete to have a quick understanding of where to put the foot, what else does my other body part does. So again, limb coordination, movement coupling activities are part of this aim. Okay, another one, last one, for rhythm purposes. We start with, again, isolation of arms. So the body doesn't have enough control, only focusing on the rhythm work. And then we introduce with the hands coming in. Okay, and always is to teach both side takeoff. Okay, one more time. Okay, so some of this exercise is to help the athlete to coordinate and also to have a certain level of rhythm with support and without support. So these are some of the things that we can incorporate. So next we move into.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, Dinesh.
Sir, can we get these videos like after your presentation? So I think this is very effective for us to.
Yeah,
also,
sure,
like,
no problem, no worries.
yes, thank you, sir.
Okay. So next we move into what we call the approach phase. We talk about, remember, getting into optimal speed rather than maximal speed. So this is the graph that we want to show. So here, if you look at it, the one in the black is the acceleration curve. Sorry, the speed increase curve. The one in the dotted line is the acceleration curve. So in the first few steps, if you realize, the first 6 steps, both the acceleration curve and the speed increase curve will get to a what we call optimal range. And this is where normally we'll put the first check marker for the athlete to understand. This will help them to get into know that whether their rhythm of running is smooth. So this is for them to have a good setup for the event. And as they gradually pick up the speed across the number of steps they take, they came to a point where this is where we call the second check marker that we'll put. This check marker is for accuracy. It means, can they reach the board accurately? So this usually differs between 4 to 6 steps. So last 4 steps to last 6 steps will be the marking where it will take place. This is also in line with what we call the last part of the speed getting into the takeoff. So again, this is where you can see it's close to almost 96 to 98% of the athlete's speed potential for the takeoff. So this is where the changes you will have in terms of what we call speed graph that you need to look for, how the optimal speed takeoff is planned out for you guys. Okay, So moving on, so some of the things that we want to know about speed. So when we're preparing for speed as preparation, must keep in mind that speed training needs total recovery. So it is neuromuscular training. So you need to make sure that it has enough break before we move on. Maximum speed usually is limited to about 5 seconds. So again, nothing more than that. So if you're planning for speed sessions, so that is the rule that you want to keep with. Short distances between 20 to 40 meters, good recovery with multiple repetitions can be used. And of course, what we want to focus on for speed would be the quality, not the volume. So quality counts is important rather than volume. Some of the focus you can do, short coordination run, like progressive runs. That means you're building up the speed as you move on. Accelerations can be done in both sub-maximal. So just to practice, know how the body should feel like as into the maximal speed. So things like you can use slope runs, resistance runs, like Mr. Ria have shared yesterday. Flying speed, of course, is to increase the neuromuscular ability to produce speed or produce velocity. So this is where we use anywhere between 40 to 60. 80 is usually for almost what we call senior athletes already. So for now, it's 40, 50 could be a good distance for you developing athletes. Always remember the numbers given, it is not absolute. We always reduce, we always focus on the word quality, not the quantity. So the numbers of distance should not be the focus, but the movement and the speed of the movement will be the key point of focus here. So next we come for what we call takeoff phases. So in takeoff phases, this will be what I call the critical phase, where most of the time we will lose speed. Okay, it is where the transference from horizontal to vertical. For the triple jump, you can see there's 3 times of it: high jump, forward, long jump. So it's always important that this phase are managed well, and it has to come from what we call the ability to produce speed strength. So as part of events, speed events, we have to understand how we call the force velocity curve works. Okay, force basically is the highest amount of weight you can lift. Okay, and then you come to the middle portion, which will be our crunch portion that we look for, anywhere between 30 to 70%, where the power part. So this is where we will use lighter loads and more explosive jumps. So plyometrics will be a good way to improve what we call speed strength exercises. So rather than using strength, we can even use body weight is sufficient. Low plyometrics will be good enough for developing athletes. Okay, we don't talk about high demanding plyometrics like drop jumps and all that, but low ones like ankle hops, skippings, you can talk about boundings. All these are very good speed strength activities and coordination related activities that you can introduce to improve the speed strength aspect of it. So again, after that, you can introduce what we call a bound into a run, so that way to teach athletes to take care of the action. So this is a way to again incorporate your speed strength component. So part of speed strength, here we have some basic ideas. We do, of course, double leg exercise, single leg and alternating exercise, and of course, special speed strength exercise in accordance to discipline. So some of the examples, I think you all are very familiar: box jumps, hurdle jumps. Again, it is always in relation to what we call the development requirements. So if I have to reduce certain areas, I'll do it later because the athletes might not be strong enough to achieve these things. Okay, give me a minute. Let me clear the extra artworks that's taking place at the moment. Those of you who are not clear, try not to keep writing or annotate. Okay, don't worry. Okay, so our next few videos is just to show some demands. Okay, this is quite very, very demanding. I will not recommend for athletes with row training, but just to share that this is also could be what we call a single leg limb speed exercise. Okay, this is something which I have learned from Mr. Walker when he was in Singapore. Okay, so the amount of demand for this is very high. So usually we won't practice this for, again, athletes below the age of 18 or very low training age. So we will try to bring it up to a very high training age, or athletes who are maturing into what we call specialization already. Okay, next one, probably, yeah, we can still do it. Recommendation for the rhythm video. This is, again, it's for takeoff preparation. Again, focusing on rhythm work. These are all what I call low takeoff with frequency focus. Okay, and then comes a little bit more demanding relation. Okay, so this will be what I call very specific event-related strength and speed aspect of it. Okay, of course, in general, we move on to what we call strength. In that aspect, it is important to what we talk about extension sling. Okay, extension sling is basically things that about to my laser pointer. Extension sling is basically your glute maximum, okay, quadriceps, and your gastros will be extension sling, okay. Sorry, flexion. This will be a flexion sling. Extension sling will be your hip flexor, hamstring, and your tibia. So these will be the two different muscle groups that we look for. Earlier, Mr. Parveen mentioned about muscle balancing. So this is also will be good to know which muscle is part of extension sling and which muscle group part of what I call flexion sling. So it's always important to balance the muscle out. Agonist and antagonist muscles are important. So that way we can minimize strength. So when you're incorporating strength, it's not how much I'm lifting. I'm looking for which weakness muscles have and how I want to strengthen them so that it kind of contributes back to the event specific demands. Okay, and of course, we do some general conditioning exercises that we mentioned, gymnastics, movement, stretching, strengthening, again, activation work, core strengthening, small-sided games will always be encouraging, especially when working with younger athletes. So instead of making them do run over time, you can actually play small-sided games and a lot of variety of movement involved. Again, it's a very good way to build general conditioning rather than just using a single mode of aerobic running. Throwing exercises, okay, we mentioned earlier, forward throw, sideward throw, backward throw, single leg throws as well. All these are good abilities to build as a general conditioning. And of course, swimming, cycling could be also used as part of what I call removing structural load. Because in jumps, we have a lot of what we call structural loading, a lot of pounding. So when you want to do aerobic work, doesn't necessarily have to always consider doing as a run. You can also do it as a swimming action or even as a cycling action, where it takes away the structural load, still what I call stress or kind of trains the cardiovascular muscle. Okay, so with that, this is how we will put everything together into the basket. So we know that when I want to prepare for specific conditioning, I'm focusing on acceleration, maximal speed development to help optimal speed and rhythmic speed. Strength for approach will be focusing on starting strength because I'm starting from 0 speed. I need to create what I call acceleration up to 75% of the maximal speed that we want. So that will be supported by maximal strength. And of course, reactive strength helps to pick up the speed for us. Endurance and flexibility as and when is needed to help the overall participation in the event. and recovery also in terms of when I have to do multiple attempts, multiple jumps and all that, I need to have the endurance to recover. So endurance here is predominantly more for the recovery process rather than anything else. Takeoff, of course, rhythmic speed, transference speed, speed strength will be a component that we want to have, and of course, reactive strength. When it comes into the air, flight, coordinative limb speed, we mentioned how the arms are able to move in terms to manage the rotation. So in that aspect, of course, I will also look for coordinative limb strength to support. And of course, finally, how to minimize the loss of distance. Again, where is my arms going to be, how far is coming forward, and how straightened my legs can be will make the difference in terms of landing. So this is how we will structure what I call the specific conditioning aspect of a jump. Okay, this is just to give you a general overview of how a mesocycle or preparation will look like, from general preparation all the way up to competition. So the various components of coordination, speed, strength, endurance, flexibility, and even mental load will play a part in how we will kind of dissect it. So this I'll pass it to you guys to have a look as a guide for you all to just to prepare how you can, when you do a particular sessions for training, how you can prepare them accordingly. Okay, the last one for the day is just to give you a simple, what I call loading guide. Again, adjust according to individual needs. Whatever numbers we show, the numbers are always a guide, it's not an absolute number. So always learn to moderate based on quality. So that is what we always encourage you guys to do. While the numbers is needed to have at least a view, okay, what is quality sessions could look like, but it should not be numbers that you want to chase. So again, here you have anything from jumping ABC, takeoff familiarization, and of course, vertical means we're talking about performance, that means jumping for heights, jumping forward for again performance, horizontal. Depth jumps normally we will not recommend for this age group, youth, again for later stage in their development. Technicals, takeoff stimulations, basically run, takeoff, run, takeoff, run, takeoff actions, such that short approach, full, medium approach, and then of course the full extent of it. So all these are the guides that you can have as part of your technical training modules for jumps. Okay. Okay, with that, thank you guys. Is there any questions in relation to today's jumps?
There are 2 questions on the chat box.
Okay, good. Let me stop sharing. Okay. So can you repeat the coordination ones? Okay, for coordination, we will always have the 5 areas. We talk about movement rhythm. We talk about movement coupling. That means the body part can work hand in hand together. We have kinesthetic difference. So basically the ability to observe things at different speed. So example I can give you about kinesthetic difference is when I throw a ball at you towards your face, judging on the speed they're coming towards you, you know when to put up your hand to catch the ball. If you cannot time it, of course, either it hits your face or you miss the ball. So that's what we call kinesthetic differences. Spatial orientation is what is around me. So basically, I'm being familiar with the space. So again, when I'm moving, I want to know how far I need to get to that particular area. What is my body is doing in that space. The last one, of course, is called rhythm sensing. So that will be what I mean by coordination. How can we get best performance in the air of high jump? Whatever that you need to have, it all takes place at the ground. That means once you take off, it's always important to find where is the optimal, what I call takeoff activities. Remember, we talk about upright actions, where the limb is and how it's going to be going over the bar. So once you're in the air, it's all about positioning, your hip tucking in over the bar to clear. So again, Nothing changes. You cannot change anything much, but other than looking at the limb actions, legs, arms, and probably even the torso. So that will support the maximum performance. So again, some drills will help you out with that. Okay, Sama. And then Sahana, coach, if athlete is not doing depth jump, then can we work with? Yeah, so again, depth jumps, okay, it's always I call it is for high demand, but for low athletes, even like a simple low, what I call 5 cms activity box is okay. So again, it's always as much as possible is for the quick ground contact. Depth jumps is when the demand is very much higher, where the strength is also being developed, then we move into depth jumps. So if not, we will pretty much use for developing athletes a lot of plyometrics. Plyometrics for them, if you won't be surprised, I don't need to plan for them. You can play what we call one leg catching. I don't know if we have played in our school days where we use one leg hopping and we try to catch friends. So all these are what we call activities that you can incorporate as part of your program and not just specifically designing it. So keep it fun, especially at this stage of youth, that you are not having a very targeted performance development, but rather general movements. So more like hopping forward, hopping backwards is also quite a good way to develop what I call bilateral, multilateral movements. Neuronal variability is the key that we work for. Can you describe optimal speed? Okay, optimal speed is basically speed that is you are able to control to take off. Maximal speed in that aspect that once you get into a high 100%, you can no longer transfer that. So that's why it always has to be an optimal speed, not a maximal speed. If you try to run as fast as you possible on the long jump pit and try to take off, no chance. You will end up going flat because there's no way you can control the takeoff. Again, if you're coming in with a very high speed and to incorporate the takeoff momentums, remember we talked about the last two steps, the penultimate takeoff steps. Again, if you're not very strong, you're going to automatically, body is going to sink in and then you're going to have a flat takeoff. So that's the reason why we do optimal speed. Optimal speed means the speed is able to be controlled just before it becomes what we call maximal speed. We get there. Ways of developing optimal speed for takeoff is what we call, we do short run-up takeoff into the pit. We do 3 steps takeoff, 5 steps takeoff, 7 steps takeoff, 9-step takeoff. So this is where we increase the takeoff steps as we develop optimal speed. So that way we will know exactly how far you have to run. Rule of thumb we use for kids program is normally we use the age as the number of steps that you take. If they're 10 years old, we take 10 steps. You know, if they're 12 years old, we use 12 steps. So that is another way of moving around optimal speed. So I hope I answered that question, Azhar. Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Many a times we have seen that the athletes always perform like better in the open air compared to the closed hall. So what's the difference actually? What makes them the better performer in the open?
Oh, you mean outdoors as indoor?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. It could be motivational factors. It could be what I call win factors. I have to see some information. So many of times, because my experience are more from outdoor experience, because I'm not lucky like you to have an indoor stadium. What happens is most of the time it is due to the arousal, atmospheric could be the reason. Big differences. Normally, it is because of a longer runway you can have for takeoffs in outdoor as compared to indoor. Again, it could be coming from a motivational factor rather than from what I call biomechanical factor.
Thank you.
Yeah. Which style is best for takeoff? long, short, long, or last step should be short. Okay, Azhar, this is a very what I call interesting thing. Technically, yes, of course, as we move, what we call the increase of frequency is to allow the takeoff to have what I call preparation or zeroing in aspect of it. Long, short, long is to incorporate. I think it should be short, long, short, not long, short, short, long, short, long. It should be short, long, short. Okay, so I think you got the order right. So the shorter one is to allow the body to prepare itself to lower. So that's why it becomes from short step to become longer. So that's why it lowers itself. And then, of course, we don't want to carry the lowering of that body far out. So that's why we want to shorten it so the body the leg is able to be quicker or closer to the center of mass. So straight away you can transfer. This is where you see the Stefan Holmes high jump, the part where the legs gets back closer to the center of mass so that you can able to transfer the takeoff speed from horizontal to vertical. So again, the last step to be shorter will be pretty much a very important factor because that allows the athlete to transfer the speed quickly into the takeoff.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, you are talking about the endurance of the jumping event. What kind of training we have to do for the development of the jumping events endurance?
Okay, endurance you can do what I call if you remember yesterday I showed the endurance training, the different heart rates you have, where you have the beats per minute. So you can also use that as an indication. So instead of doing what I call run, you can design circuit trainings, different activities done without rest continuously or with short recoveries. So remember, endurance training is all about how long my body can operate without stopping or without the need to stop and to take a complete break. So endurance development for jumpers can be low level jumpings, like plyometrics drills. You can also do body weight exercises. You can do, like I said, other areas you can do is maybe you can do like Oregon circuits. So where do activity, you do a short run activity, short run. So you can do this variety of actions. So again, try to keep the speed element or movement element active when you're designing endurance training for power event athletes to allow that what I call ability to still do the endurance work, but don't get what I call bored doing it. I hope that question is okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Okay, Ken. Okay, if not, then I think any more questions? Okay.
Okay, I have one question, sir.
Yeah, Dinesh.
Thank you first of all, thank you for the wonderful presentation. So my question is, there are like 3 different techniques of takeoff in long jump, right, sir? Sail technique, hitch kick, and one I forgot. So so from these 3 techniques, I want to know, like, for the beginners, which technique is like best for them to practice during their training, and also wanted to know which technique the professionals use while they do when they jump in long jump.
Okay, the 3 techniques are sail technique. This is what we teach in our level 1 sail technique. Then you have the hang and the hitch kick. So these are the 2 other things you do. Definitely for beginners, we teach the the sail technique, because it teaches about the freezing of the takeoff legs. So this is always very important. This is the key criteria that we will, what we call, is very important, regardless of which technique I'm going to use afterwards. So this will
Okay.
be very key important because our athletes are not strong enough to manipulate their body. So what we will do is sail technique will be the best technique for beginners, because it's straight away, once you take off, you straighten and then you join the legs back in again for landing. So this is
Okay.
what we teach. So sail technique will be the recommended. Of course, if you look for the hang and hitch kick, hang techniques are predominantly used what I call jumpers jumping around 8 meters in that range. And then over 8 meters, usually you'll find a hitch kick. You'll be surprised, right now they have a combinations also. So there's a hang hitch kick combination that's coming in out. So again, you will be surprised to see some of these changes as athletes maneuver themselves with the speed. So predominant would be hang, you can get to see, but at international level, hitch kick seems to be also where jumpers doing over 8 meters will be using it.
Okay. So sail technique is the best for the beginners,
Sail
right?
technique will be the best for now. Yes.
Okay, sir. Again, I have one question, one more
Sure.
question. So there are like 4 phases of like jump, like in all the jumps, there are 4 phases. So approach, takeoff, landing, and recovery. So from these 4, which are 4 from these different phases, like from your point of view, I want to know like which phase like determines the like last landing of the athlete. There will be like, or
It's a
all
takeoff.
of these are important.
Yes, or definitely remember we talk about the 3 criteria parameters that decides in long jump: speed of
Yes.
takeoff, height of takeoff, angle of takeoff.
Angle of takeoff.
These 3 things can only be performed with what I call acceleration, approach and takeoff in that area. The moment you are in the air, of course, it is how you're manipulating will help to land. So if
Okay.
you break it up, of course, these 3 components will be covered through approach and takeoff. And of course, if you ask which is the most important, every phase will be a critical
Yes.
factor.
Yes.
But of course, if I were to improve, I would improve the approach and what I call takeoff. Then I'll do the landing. And then, of course, this flight part and then landing will come together as a team. So approach, takeoff as a team, flight, landing as a team, and then later I will try to marry them together.
Okay, so I think we should work on all the aspects.
Yes, so it's
Okay.
whole technique will be good to use. So
Okay.
this way of doing it will be nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, if there's no, then we can break away for lunch. But
sure.
before we break for lunch, I'll just quickly show you all something so that you all know how to prepare for our session tomorrow later.
Yeah.
The event group selection, which I mentioned earlier. Okay, so for event group selection, we will have the following. So take note. Group 1, if you're going to be in jumps, you will in group 1, throws group 2, middle long distance group 3, and sprints and hurdles group 4. To help our ADC staff to allow you guys to assign, we need you to change this number at the back. So example, if you're not sure how to do it, if you to hover around your face in the screen, you'll see this blue color thing appearing, 3 dots. And if you to click it, there's an option to drop down, this comes up, and right at the end, there's a word called rename, change your name. So this pop-up box will come up, and then you just change according to the group that you want. So your name, your country, you can put a dash, then the number. So number 1 is jumps. Number 2 will be throws. Number 3 is middle long distance, and number 4 will be sprints and hurdles. Okay. And then once you save it, it's easy for us to move you guys into the groups later on. Okay. Okay, with that, I think we can break for lunch. We'll see you back in an hour's time.
Now it's 12:10.
So we come back at 1:10.
Yes, sure.
Okay, 1:10. See you guys
Okay.
back at 1:10.
Okay, thank you, Pak
Okay.
Fira. Thank you,
Yeah,
Dr.
bye-bye.
Parfir. Okay, thank you, everyone. So see you in 1 hour.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.